Hi. It's Christmas. I really don't know where the year has gone, and it's been such a strange year. But Christmas for me, it really is about tradition. It's the time when everybody really sits back and tries to enjoy themselves. Mind you, there could be some amazing arguments as well, but that's because you've got all the family together. Tradition, I mentioned. Freddie was all about tradition, you know that. For Freddie, it was just so important that everything got done right, and it just looked good, it felt good. I remember, there's a tree here. This tree was actually in New York, in the New York apartment. We weren't actually there for Christmas. This was the lead up to Christmas, but we had to have the tree. Also, you see, it fills the space. It goes up to the roof, and it was the same at Garden Lodge. There was a 14-foot tree in the sitting room. To decorate it, literally, you used a ladder and you were up. Well, it was Jim who did it. He put the decorations up from the minstrel's gallery, that was halfway up the room. There had to be a tree. Christmas Eve was amazing. I remember specifically one Christmas Eve where Mike Moran was on the piano, and Freddie had invited so many different people around. Friends, people he knew, and of course, people that Peter Straker knew. Susanna York, Pam Ferris. And everybody would be singing Christmas carols on Christmas Eve. That was, again, in Freddie's mind, that was part of the tradition of Christmas. Of course, even on Christmas Eve, Freddie would go out to the bars, like every other night. But that night, Joe went out with him. And I stayed inside because Freddie had invited 25 people for Christmas lunch. So I thought there's absolutely no way that we could get everything ready on Christmas Day. So I got preparing all the vegetables for 25 people. The reason it was 25 people, that's interesting enough because Freddie would see his family before Christmas. During the week before Christmas, he would go over there, spend time with them. But for him, Christmas was for his friends, the friends who were his family. And what he did for this Christmas, he invited all of his friends who were not going to be with somebody, with their families, with their friends. If they were going to be alone on Christmas, he invited them. So there were 25 people. We set up we created a long table and put it up in the sitting room. What he also did, because, again, this is just Freddie being Freddie. Everybody had a list of names of who was going to be there. And everybody had to buy a little something for each person on the list, so that under the tree there would be a massive amount of presents. Because Freddie didn't want that, of course, he would be sitting there and had a present from everybody, And some people would be there just sitting there opening one present that he had got for them. So this way, everybody could be opening presents. And I mean, it was just a sea of paper after they'd been opened. But I'm going ahead. Christmas Eve, I was there getting Brussels sprouts, carrots. What else did I peel? Potatoes, because there was going to be roast potatoes and boiled potatoes, and butternut squash, and because the peas were frozen. Shh. Then, I mean, that was enough for me to do. But then Joe, always the professional, Joe and I, we got up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get 2 turkeys into the ovens, because we were lucky in Garden Lodge there were 2 ovens. One we used all the time, the second one wasn't quite as good, but obviously for 2 10-kilo turkeys we needed it. Those got in, we started preparing everything, laying the table, doing that. The whole thing we created. Jim made a centerpiece. Everything was laid out. And Freddie, of course, did his bit of moving the little knife and moving a glass, and just to make sure that he had laid the table. Lunch was always 1:30, and everybody would arrive on time, sit down, and we would have the meal. Again, tradition, everybody had crackers, everybody had the main course. Then of course there was Christmas pudding, which I had made. I made those usually at the end of October, beginning of November. I made, I think, 3-4 of them. And you know what you do. You make the pudding, you put sixpence inside. Well, it wasn't sixpence, it was, I can't remember what coin we put in. And then you steam it for 5 hours. And then you hide it away. But I also made the Christmas cakes at the same time. But you would wrap those up in greaseproof paper and in tinfoil. Put it away. We put it into the cupboard outside where we kept the wine cold and all the rest of it. And every 2 weeks you would bring it in, put some holes in it, sprinkle some alcohol on it, put it back outside again. And every 2 weeks do the same thing. So that would all be done. Everything would be served, wines, waters, everything. But the food had to be finished by 2:45. And what we did, anything that was left over, and of course there was food left over, the turkeys, stuffing, vegetables, everything, we just lay on the sort of mobile chopping block that was in the kitchen, so that if anybody ever felt peckish, they could just eat it. I forgot to add that we also had to put the Christmas puddings on when we put the turkeys in the oven to steam again, so that they were hot. 3 o'clock, everybody's watching the television for the Queen's speech. I mean, how many of you do that? It still happens, so it's fine. And the presents were always opened after the Queen's speech. Then maybe a few people they started going off, going away, doing their own thing, so that everybody who was left, and it came down to maybe 6, 7, 8 people, would just sit, chatting, the television might be on, but people were not really paying attention to it. It was just there. But it was quiet talk, laughter. It was an amazing feeling. You know, the lights would be dimmed so that it felt really cozy and warm. The fire wasn't on, but, you know, there was a massive fireplace in front of the couch. But because of the atmosphere and with the dimmed lighting, it just felt so right. This year, everything is going to be so different. I mean, where I am, there's a curfew. Everybody has to be off the streets by 11 o'clock in the evening. Where any of you are, there are so many restrictions. There are just things that you're not going to be able to do, that, you know, you can't. And of course, not doing what you want to do, you're not happy. You really are not happy. But please, please, think of Christmas as a time of getting together. Nowadays, you can talk to people on Skype, on Messenger, on WhatsApp, and you can do face-to-face. So you can still be with your friends. You can still spend time with them. And for me, that's what Christmas is about. It's not all to do with the decorations. It's not all to do with any of that. It's a time for people to be together. And I think this year, more than any other year, we really need to cling on to each other. As I said, we have Skype, we have all the ways to talk. And I think basically wherever we are in the world, we're not going to be able to get together. I mean, I've seen in Britain, you can't even leave specific areas. So really, really think about who you want to talk. And it costs nothing on these ways of talking, you know, this information system. And surprise someone and make them smile. That's it for me, for now. I hope you've got something out of it. It's just Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.